Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good evening. Shalom, good people. Welcome to another episode of the Big Daddy Liberty Show. It's Wednesday at 7:30, which means this beautiful Zulu mug is going to be on your screens for the next 25 minutes to about half an hour. Welcome to it. It is Liberty, the Big Daddy Liberty Show. Liberty and Friends on Sundays. And the BDL show is on Wednesdays. Welcome to it. Do me a favor, people. As always, I always ask at the beginning of every broadcast, and that is for you to hit that like button. Do it right now. Smash that like button, whether you're watching this broadcast on Twitter, YouTube, or on Facebook. Welcome to it. It is the Big Daddy Liberty Show. I see you guys streaming into the comment section tonight. Tonight, we're going to have a conversation about one ANC golden boy, the person who, for a very long time, the corporate media and I should rephrase that, his friends in the corporate media and really the corporate, or rather the political elite in this country, the intelligentsia who write for various newspapers, a lot of his friends were telling us for a very long time that this golden boy is absolutely the best thing since sliced bread for South Africa. They told us, they carried water for this individual, telling us, oh man, he is different. He's a different type of ANC leader. He's a businessman, they told us. He understands what the country needs. And yes, even though he's part of the ANC, no, disregard that, they told us, and believe that Cyril Ramaphosa, Cyril Matamela, Ramaphosa, oh no, he knows what the country needs, and he'll be a clean, and I use the word clean on purpose for the purpose of tonight's show, but they told us, oh no, they said, he'll be a clean break from the days of a one Jacob Zuma. Oh, finally, they told us there'll be no more state corruption, there'll be no more state capture, and the ANC will be a flowery organization that just is able to fix all our problems, from load shedding to crime, to a sluggish economy, to the unemployment. Oh, this businessman, we were told, is going to put together a powerhouse cabinet that is going to be squeaky clean and will simply clean up the country. Boy, oh boy, were we not sold a pipe dream for this individual. And you guys will remember this at the beginning of Cyril Ramaphosa's presidency. All of those pictures started coming out. Oh, he's so accessible. Look, he's walking on the beach, and all those ladies and those if I can steal from a particular social media account on Twitter, all of those simps for Cyril were literally fawning over him. Oh, he's so fantastic. Mr. President, we're told. Oh, are you going for your afternoon walk? Oh, can we walk with you, sir? Again, underpinning the notion that there were people at the beginning of this administration who, even as we warned them that there is nothing different in the ANC, there is no hope in believing the ANC will fix your issues. No one is listening in that party and no one cares. Even as we told them that, oh, they said, oh no, you shut up, Big Daddy Liberty. You hate the fact that, he's loved by white people because, oh, Big Daddy, you think you're the only one who's loved by white people, blah, 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 blah. You heard all of these arguments coming from various quarters in this country. They racialized it, they deracialized it, they gave it a class tinge, they tried to put a nice he's pro-business bow on it, and we were sold a massive lie that somehow the ANC, a red in tooth and claw socialist and communist party, literally has the communists on its left flank. We were sold that that party, corrupt as it was, is suddenly going to become this wonderful pro-business organization that will get the jobs going, blah, 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 blah. Hey. And I kept warning you guys at the very beginning, hashtag don't be dribbled. Don't be dribbled. because we see this nonsense happen time and time again. The factions in the ANC, once they're done with a given political leader at the time, whether that was uThabo Mbeki or Kgalema Motlanthe or Jacob Zuma, once they're done with that particular leader and his faction, once they've eaten at that trough, they will form new subdivisions, new factions that then pretend as if there is a good ANC versus a bad ANC. We saw that with Thabo Mbeki, where Jacob Zuma was sold to us as, oh no, they said, he's pro-poor. He's from rural South Africa, so he understands the plight of poor people. The lefties and the commies and the trade unionists in particular got behind him because for a very long time, it was those three factions, if you will, of the ANC who were shut into a corner and asked to put their fingers on their lips by Mbeki and his faction. So when they got the opportunity, of course they supported the new, brand new, shiny thing. Man, they sold you these shines as if it was like a, they sold you these false images, these false projections. It shined a light, it almost blinded you of, oh no, this new leader will sort out what you've come to now know is an ANC problem, but we needed to forget that it's an ANC problem because, oh, look at the distraction. Look at the new shiny leader. So that when Zuma's time was over, who did we get? As I said at the beginning of the show, we got a one Cyril Ramaphosa, and we went through the same song and dance over again. A song and dance that seeks to have you dribbled and distracted into thinking somehow the very nature of the ANC, a leftist organization, an avowed leftist organization, definitely since about the 50s, when it had that conference at Morogoro, and they adopted a lot of the commie nonsense that we now suffer in this country. Definitely since then, somehow that organization was going to be different, because a particular character who you happen to like is at the helm of it. It does not work that way. And now those chickens are coming home to roost. And are they not coming home to roost in a spectacular way? Because if you're not dribbled and distracted, you would have known this is coming. You would have listened to the voices of people like me and others on social media who told you that the very edifice, the entire organization, is fundamentally corrupt to the core. And it's corrupted in two ways. One, it is actually criminally corrupt. It is an organization of a ragtag. It's like a pirate ship, really. Just because one pirate wears an eye patch and the other has a wooden leg doesn't mean that one's less of the pirate than the other. They will both literally pull out a cutlass and cut you down. They will both make you walk the plank. They will both maroon you on an island. They will both steal your treasure. So that just because the captain of the ship changes, again, doesn't make him any less of a pirate. They are thieves and kleptocrats, pardon me, by nature. That is the first area of how they are crooked, how they are corrupted. The other is they're crooked and they're corrupted in the ideas that they spread. The very ideas that the ANC spreads. And by the way, it's not just the ANC. It's not just the ANC. South Africa's political environment generally lacks a genuine intellectual diversity. Most of our politics and most of our politicians are to the left, whether they are soft lefties and trendy lefties or hardcore red in tooth and claw commies and socialists. That is the broad spectrum of our politics, pardon me, in this country. And obviously following that are policies. That's who governs this country, people. So that any illusion about some right-wing conspiracy or the ANC is neoliberal, blah, 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 is exactly that. It's absolute bullcrap. It is absolutely bullcrap. Liberalism in this country extends only as far, I shouldn't say that, I was going to use a very, okay, all right. I was going to use a very terrible analogy there, but as I rephrase it in my head, liberalism and those who are of and pertaining to freedom, insofar as the policies they push, extends as far as Cyril's nose. Let me use that part of his body. It goes no further than that. Everything else is leftist, and everything else is of a type of politician who believes that the state and government must control everything from the very individuals and all individuals' aspects of their lives. They must control your community, they must control the economy, they must control everything. And we see this as everyday South Africans in all other aspects of our lives. If anything, the lockdown period brought it into sharp focus of what it means for the state to ordinarily, as it ordinarily does, control everything. Lockdown just brought what is always there into overt and obvious states for you to see it. But it's still there. The same people who are controlling, the same people who are stifling are still there. They hold those ideas that all aspects of life, all aspects of society, politics, and social order should be run by the state in whatever guise. Those are the two fundamental areas in which all of these politicians, including your favorite, Cyril Ramaphosa, are corrupt. So that when the former pops up, as is the case with this one piece, let me bring it on screen here. So when the former pops up, let's see, what does the article say? Unpacking the Cyril Ramaphosa home robbery story and why you should care. This is a piece that was in the Daily Maverick. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically gloss over the allegations that came out, that there was effectively a robbery that happened on one of Ramaphosa's game farms. This was back in 2020, where a wad of cash, millions, alleged to have been stolen from this property. And instead, and this is where the criminal side of it comes in, as it's being alleged against Ramaphosa, instead of him reporting this alleged theft on his property, no, he decided, quote, to effectively, it's alleged that Ramaphosa did not report the theft to the police and instead instructed his head of the Presidential Protection Unit, a one Major General Wally Röder, to essentially go rogue. Go rogue. I will find you wherever you are. Bring back them millions. To find the criminals, of course, get the money back, and to keep it all quiet. End of quote. Now, this allegation was made by a one, there he is in the picture there, Arthur Fraser, who used to be the head of the correctional services. His infamy, of course, is allegedly rather dubiously freeing a one Jacob Zuma who was incarcerated at the time, allegedly prematurely, and that brought him into sharp focus. But I'll read on here very quickly. It says, in Fraser's version, that is, Röder and his team did exactly as the president requested via an entirely unlawful caper that involved, here's the kicker, kidnapping and the interrogation of suspects, even tracking some of them to Namibia, as is alleged, and ultimately, of the 6 suspects who were caught, allegedly caught, that is, those same suspects, pardon me, were then paid off to the tune of 150,000 Rand per person to not breathe a word of the incident. This is where it gets even more interesting. The mastermind allegedly behind the theft of this money at Palapala Farm was, as Fraser alleges, Ramaphosa's domestic worker at the farm. He further alleges or claims that the employee not only received, that same employee, one of these said 150,000 Rand payoffs. Goodness me, quick bookmark here. Would you not love 150,000 Rand in your pocket right now? Given how tough this economy, is it not amazing how politicians and the political elites just bandy about these sort of sums of money? How is it possible? Anyway, so this alleged mastermind, a domestic worker at the property, also received the 150,000 Rand payoff, but also here's where it gets funny, but also was ultimately reinstated in her job after some, quote, patriarchal man talk between Ramaphosa and her father, end of quote. So this is the allegation here, that effectively the president broke the law. I mean, there's more to this article. If you want to see it, check it out on Daily Maverick, and of course other sources. And subsequent reporting around this issue has also brought up some interesting stuff. Let me just get rid of this quickly. Subsequent reporting has also brought up some interesting stuff around these particular suspects, how their spending habits somehow have found themselves in the corporate media. News 24 today reporting that Ramaphosa's farm theft suspects, let me actually put that up on screen. Give me a moment here, peeps, because I want you all to see what I'm talking about here. These alleged suspects were told, or as is reported in, there we go. Let's quickly get this on screen. Pardon me, guys. Give me a moment. And as I'm looking through this, guys, please hit that like button, and share this stream. Ramaphosa's farm theft, suspects went from quote unquote bumming bus tickets to paying 1.8 million rand cash for a flat. Wow, is that not just a privileged and charmed life? There he is there. One of the suspects, apparently, a one Erki Shikongo. I don't know if that was meant to be Eric Shikongo, one of the alleged suspects in the burglary, looking rather dapper there in a photo. With the byline being, or the headline being, one of the alleged suspects in the burglary at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Limpopo farm paid 1.7 million rand, very nice, in cash for a flat in Bloberg Strand here in Cape Town, almost a year to the day after the alleged theft of apparently millions of dollars that was stashed at the farmhouse. The flat is an upmarket development in Tableview called the Sandown Lifestyle Center, very nice, where properties regularly fetch between 1.4 and 2 million rand. What a charmed life. Hey, man, what a charmed life, where you can just splurge 1.5 million rand or 1.7 million rand on a flat, just like that, just like that. Whereas the rest of us, in Zulu, we say, siyapatanisa. We're picking and dropping things as we shop around for groceries because we can't even afford basic things anymore. The rest of us are putting in quarter tanks, half tanks in our cars now, if we're even lucky to have a car. The rest of us are struggling. I'm a scent of green, black, those dark scents. You're scratching them together to avoid, to afford taxi fare in this country. A lot of us are on the streets now, relegated to having to live on the streets, to beg, to eke out an existence. That's the reality for most of us. We're not buying 1.7 million rand flats in nice, swanky estates all over the country. So that even as I bitch and moan, and I'll call it that just because I know it'll be said about what's happening here in the comments, and I do have a guest, Shem, I should bring him on in a moment. But even as I bitch and moan about the standard of living I'm enjoying less of in this country, there is a political elite in this country who are enjoying top dollar, including a criminal elite, seemingly, who are now being paid off allegedly by politicians. And it's these people, if I come back to where the genesis of the show, it's these people who the corporate media in this country, who the intelligentsia, the academia in this country, the ones often paraded on your TV screens as analysts, who the political elites, it's these people, the criminals, the politicians, the crooked politicians who allegedly pay off the criminals, who we were told we should definitely support, and they carried water for, as is the case with a one Cyril Ramaphosa. So that it comes back full circle, where I keep saying to you guys, pardon me, stop being dribbled by these people who sell you these false prophets. Maybe I should play that song by J. Cole called False Prophets. Let me bring on Upra Gabriel, because we're going to have this chat tonight in the last 10 minutes of the show. Gabriel Krause, of course, is an analyst and head of campaigns at the Institute of Race Relations. Gabriel, dude, I must begin here. Insofar as where the show began, you have these individuals, these people who write in the columns, who are the voices we hear the most on corporate mainstream media, who are telling us, Cyril's great, they said. Seemingly, those people, even though they were warned at the very beginning not to do this, are now beginning to say, hey, you know what, to Ramaphosa as a one Melanie for vote did?
Yeah, I must say there have been a few. There are those who are even worse. I thought the headline on the Sunday World was kind of disturbing. I went on Sunday to go and look at all the newspapers: Sunday World, Sunday Independent, Sunday Times, the Citizen on Sunday, to see how they would deal with it. And I thought most papers, half of the columns were kind of going for Cyril, half were going against. But the Sunday World one started with a story about a bullet in a box that was delivered to the Director General of the Presidency with the message to say, if you pursue any state capture charges, then here's our message to you. And I thought that's newsworthy. That's worth reporting. I'm not sure it's the most important thing that happened in the week, given the Pala Pala scandal. But then the way it was segued into the Pala Pala scandal was like automatically like Cyril is being cornered. He's just a good man, and people are trying to drag his name down. And like, this is this is the problem with this is why black people can't get ahead, is because there's no trust in like excellence. I thought that's not fair. That's not a good way to think about it. But in a way, I thought the most interesting line against Ramaphosa perhaps came from Carol Payton at the Business Day, who I think is a really solid journalist in a lot of ways. And she was writing the scathing piece saying, the thing that's so devastating about this is that other people had pinned their hopes on Ramaphosa, is that so many South Africans thought of him as different to the rest of the ANC, thought of him as the savior. And I thought, I know some political schemes. Unfortunately, it is the case in Russia that they're led by a political party that has a lot of big problems. And too many people think Vladimir Putin alone is going to be their savior. And I've often noticed that Vladimir Putin's twice as popular as his party, and Ramaphosa is twice as popular as the ANC. And it's not a good sign if the leader's much more popular than the group he supposedly represents. But there was something that she said there. She said, the troubling thing is that at the end of the day, we always knew the RET faction would come after him. But then it's also strange that they've been so nice to him so long. That's such a telling mistake in insight, because radical economic transformation is the policy of Ramaphosa.
Exactly.
If you're not dribbled, if you're not following the palace drama and the intrigues, and the intrigue, don't get me wrong, is fascinating. Now we've got Floriana, the maid, and Wally Rude, the head of security, but also the head of the police protection unit. We've got Emmanuelu David popping over to Namibia, maybe doing deals with the presidency. We've got President of the Namibia saying that Ramaphosa has been phoning him. All kinds of things are happening, millions of dollars, shady like places to exchange currency next to sort of brothels over the road from Saab. Dude, the movie rights for this thing. I want the movie rights for this thing.
That's great.
That's going to be money. But it is a distraction, because the real issues of the policy. We
Can
delivered.
I hold you for a second? I'll let you finish, because I wanted to. There's a point you raised earlier, and I don't want you to forget it. And I'll let you get into the policy issue for now, because that you're absolutely right around that. But I want you to go back a little bit. I'll read the two excerpts and I'll put them on screen for you. Let me begin with Melanie Favot. And this is obviously behind a paywall, so bear with me, Gabriel. Let me just put it on screen there. There it is. I'm going to just quickly fix it to that. Pardon me. Melanie Favot writes, this is her article. I hope this is not a case of et tu Ramaphosa, writes Melanie Favot. Where she says that she will be devastated if it turns out, I don't know if she talks like that, I'm just making that voice. She'll be devastated if it turns out that Ramaphosa knowingly did something illegal. She's of the view, or she's actually in the second person, she wouldn't be saying this, but she's of the view that in a world of so much corruption and dodgy politicians, he has been one of the, quote, few shining lights. Then there's another one that you were actually referencing, Gabriel. Give me a second here to load it, because it does speak to exactly, Gabriel, what you were saying a moment ago, like almost carbon copy, if you will, in a sense.
Dude, I will just say, while you're looking for it, that Melanie Favot From the few interactions I've had with her. I disagree with her completely on politics. I think she's very naive. But I do think she would enjoy your rendition of her way of speaking, because she does have a good sense of humor.
But here's that article you're talking about from Carol Payton, where the heading is Ramaphosa's fatal misstep: cash cannot be king when you're president. And again, that first byline: President Cyril Ramaphosa has shattered our perceptions. Let me read that again: shattered our perceptions. Who is this our? When we've been warning these people about this guy from the beginning, who is this our? But anyway, shattered our perceptions of who he is. The damage, she says, to his standing will be serious, especially in the global political arena. End of quote. Gabriel, just finish your thought, my brother. Sorry, I cut you short earlier on.
Not at all. Thanks for underlining that, Sihle. And I suppose just my heart goes out to those people who are seeing it's like their own, like Father Christmas has just exposed his like inside the jacket is just drugs and anyway, that's okay. If you're gonna believe that people are saints, Saint Cyril, hey, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So here's the point with policy. We went to the union buildings last week to deliver 23,000 signatures from South Africans. I think it's fair to say, family, flag, faith, freedom-loving South Africans, people who opposed the Employment Equity Amendment Bill, who took seriously our arguments that it's unconstitutional. This is the bill that now sits on Ramaphosa's desk. He's still the president of the country. He's still supposed to serve this whole nation as the chief executive of this country. And sitting on his desk is a bill that would disqualify businesses from being able to tender for government contracts, which are approaching 1 trillion rand, where we as taxpayers need to get the maximum value for money, as the Zondo Commission said. Scrap at that level, let go of this racial bean counting thing. That was the Zondo Commission's advice. This bill does the opposite. It says you can't even come into the room to name the price, depending on how you look, racially speaking. That's not on. The second thing that it's going to do is give Thulas Nxesi, the Minister of lots of unemployment and no labor, the ability to set quotas by subsector, by sub-region, by province, he is going to be able to come and harass people and impose hard racial quotas through this law. We oppose it. We have constitutional arguments that we believe are fully solid, coming from, PhD in law, Anthea Jeffrey, Cambridge chained, all that fancy stuff, good stuff, serious stuff. We're delivering that to the president. Now, firstly, you can't get into the union buildings because there's a sort of strike where some people have torn down some of the gates, and so there's a police blockade. We managed to get our way through that. Managed to get the petition through. The president's attorneys did manage to respond to us, but only pro forma. We're waiting for a substantial response, and we need a substantial response. We as South Africans deserve a substantial response. Haven't gotten one yet. Let's look at Alan Winde, a premier. Okay, you want to say Gabriel Krause is a private citizen, the IRR is civil society. Who cares about 23,000 South Africans? We only care about politicians. Okay, what about politicians? There's Alan Winde, elected premier of an entire province. There are only 9 provinces, saying yesterday that he still opposes the lockdown. He still opposes the mask mandate, all of these sort of forced things that are restricting business, especially tourism. The Western Cape needs a lot. We have been running a campaign, many thousands of signatures on that for a long time, trying to end this madness, give people a chance to get back to work. Looking at the employment figures coming out last week, the NEET rate, the rate of young people not in employment, education, or training, that actually went up by 2%, from 44% to 46%. It's dire straits. The GDP numbers that came out yesterday, they say it went up by 1.9%. That's seasonally adjusted. In actual fact, it went down by 1.9%, and they just added 3.8% in the hopes that that makes sense. I'm not sure that it does make sense. It's bad times. It's serious times. We really need to do everything we can to go to business. So Alan Winde says, I've approached the president. I've sent a letter to the president. I've said, please, can we have a meeting so I can make my arguments to end the lockdown, to get Cape Town back to work, to get the Western Cape back to work. President hasn't answered in weeks. So he sent another message. President still hasn't answered. So, in my opinion, this is all fun and games, and Ramaphosa has a scandal on his hands. And I find it very curious that the Guptas were arrested 2 days after Arthur Fraser's allegations. The allegations come June 1st. The Guptas get arrested June 3rd. Then the story only leaks on Monday. It's a whole universe of very curious things. And I think it is important to cover it. And of course, it was on the cover page of every newspaper excepting the one that was talking about the bullet in the box. But come on, those are not the things actually that are going to make a difference to you and my lives and to the people watching the show, least of all to those who can't afford data to watch a show like this.
Absolutely.
We
Gabriel,
need the policies of this country to change, and we need the president to pay attention to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Gabriel, I must apologize to you. We've completely run out of time. Remember, Big Daily Liberty Show, only 30 minutes. Longer format is on Sundays, Liberty and Friends. Gabriel, we might actually just invite you back on so we can chew on this issue in greater detail. That is Gabriel Krauser, of course, from the Institute of Race Relations. Guys, thank you so much for watching the show. And Gabriel's points are actually absolutely salient. And it comes back to what I was saying early on. There's two fundamental levels in which we've always warned you, the ANC, regardless of who it is. We've always warned you, all leftist politicians in this country, regardless of who they are fundamentally corrupt. One, they're kleptocrats. They're actual thieves. They're actual criminals. And on the other, they are kleptocrats in the sense of bad ideas. They push bad ideas, bad policies that affect your life. And it is those two areas that you should keep a steely resolve, a steely focus on, and not be dribbled and distracted by other nonsense. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button, please, and share the stream wherever you're watching this. And remember, as I always say, I will see you on a Sunday, rather, for Liberty and Friends. Some exciting stuff coming next week. I keep saying this, but like we're actually very close now to launching something new on the BDL show. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, I'll see you on Sunday, 8 p.m. for Liberty and Friends. And as I always say at the end of every show, never trust a commie and don't be troubled. #.